even some of my friends, I'm like, hey, yo, we're going to class. You coming? Like, nah, I'm not going to class. Bro, what do you mean not going to class? It's 1 p.m. What are you doing? Like, oh, he's sleeping. Bro, you don't get up and go to class.
Come
Like, what are
on.
you doing?
What are we here for? How does the saying go? You have to keep the main thing the main thing. You come
Like,
on, man. Like
so,
I know what we doing, but come on, man. We here for this. Yeah.
bro, it was bad. Like, I seen kids not, I fell into it one time. My friends laughed at me one time. One day I was like, I had to reflect on myself. One day I didn't go to class all day. Like, some girls was like, hey, let's hang outside. I was on a basketball court just chilling from 9 a.m. And my boys walked past me like 4 times. It gets to 4 p.m. They're like, bro, you've been sitting here this whole time? And I was like, yeah, the ladies, the girls just want to hang. Like, we
Oh
just chill.
man.
They looked at me like, bro, get it
You're
together.
better than this.
And
Come on, Mike. You're better than this, man. They held that mirror up to you. They held a mirror up to you, man. Come on, man. Look at yourself.
in sometime, man. Like you said, that life is fun. It's different. It's a life experience that many won't get to experience and see, and it's something that you have to experience to learn and grow from.
Today on this episode, I have one of those seers. I have a young CEO in the building in the sports and entertainment field, and he's coming to us to share his story. Ladies and gentlemen, please give some big hand claps for Mike Seabrook. Okay, so Mike, this is something that I like to ask people because I feel like it's a very important part of the story. Okay, we're at high school, so you get to high school. Did you and your family set some goals or anything going into freshman year? Because for me, my mom she sat me down and we made a list of things that I wanted to accomplish by the time my senior year came, and then a couple things moving forward through the future. So did you have an idea what you wanted to do when you went into high school, or was it just like, all right, we here, let's just see what happens?
Nah, man, I wish I wish I had a roadmap on my end. Honestly, I went to high school. My sister and I are 4 years apart, so she was entering college. So she was kind of like the person I was looking at like, cool, she's
Right,
going to college.
right.
That's what I think I have to do. But education was huge. So my family, there was no question what I was doing. It was just like, you go to school, get good grades, you're going to college. So I didn't know anything. I was just going to high school, passing my classes.
Yeah.
That's about it. There was no plan in place. There was no idea what I wanted to do in place. There was no roadmap, nothing. I just knew that I went to school, I did good grades, and that was that from an education standpoint. I think the transition for me when it came to getting onto my game was my junior year. I think in high school in New Jersey, well, all high schools, you got to take the sophomore state test,
Yeah.
and they bring people in the auditorium to start speaking and things like that. My junior year is normally when you start applying to colleges, and I started getting like free application for schools. My sister was calling me, helping me, like, yo, what are we doing? Like, what are you doing? And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know, like, I don't know where I want to go. I don't know what I'm about to do. But I was so always intrigued about the business of sports. Uh, for some reason, I became a Jets fan. I don't know why. Growing up,
Yeah, I feel bad for you, man.
yeah,
It's
I
not
don't
your
know.
fault.
I was a Jets fan as a kid. Like,
Yeah.
man. I'm a
Yeah.
huge Curtis Martin fan. Like, I grew up a huge
Oh
Curtis Martin
man, I met him one time. The coolest dude.
fan,
Oh
bro. I We'll get into my fanning out. I've actually was able to like his Ring of Honor and hold his bust for his Hall of Fame. But we can talk about that
yeah,
later.
we go. Yeah, we have to talk about that. Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I was a huge Curtis Martin fan. But growing up, the business of sports was something that intrigued me. Like, the Jets was a horrible team. They always drafted horrible and never picked the right people. So as a kid growing up, I always like would get the newspaper, read like the free agency, how much cap space, and I will always try to guess and try to figure out who we need and what we should pick and who they should draft. And that always like intrigued me. And I always wanted to be the GM. I was like, I want to be the GM of the Jets.
So you
That
start.
was
So you start the GM, the general manager mindset early on. Like it started to click for you early on. That's crazy.
yeah. It clicked because my team sucked.
Right, right, right. How can I help New York,
Yeah, it
New
was one
York
of those like
Jets?
as
Yeah.
as a kid, it's one of those things where you're just like, oh, I'm gonna be the coach, or they should have ran this play. And it kind of was one of those. It's like, man, they should have drafted this player, and
So I bet
most
you
of the
were sick in Madden.
I actually was. So, I actually in high school, I was ranked in the top 100 for Xbox 360 online. My highest ranking was 59. And I actually used to play with the kids, the guys that were on the Madden Nation shows and like
Yeah.
who's on tournaments. I used to play with them on a regular. So
Full circle, you guys.
um, that was pretty funny, but I didn't have any idea honestly until like I said my junior year. I was just like I knew sports was huge going to high school. I was huge in Madden. Just the business side of sports. I always wanted to be GM, and I was just like, how do you get into that? Like, you always get into high school. When I was in high school, it was your specific business. It was business. It was health and medical. There was and there was like two other majors they made it seem like in high school, like, oh, these are the places you would be. And I was like, all right, I guess I want to do something in business. And then I just started Googling. Thank God for Google and technology we
Right,
started having,
right.
because I just Googled sports and business and sports or sports management, and they gave me a list of every school that had that, and it was actually a major. And I said, oh snap, like, all right, cool, like I know I'm gonna do sports management. Like that was when I was like, I'm doing that. Like I'm
Okay.
doing sports management. But then the next question was, all right, cool. I found a list of every school that had that major. I was like, all right, cool. Like, this is actually slowly becoming a thing. So you start taking your SATs, you start sending out these scores to schools and whatnot. And that's kind of where it started for me, understanding like, all right, this is actually a thing. Like, I'm about to make this a thing.
Okay.
And then I did create a roadmap my junior year, and my sister helped me create a roadmap where it was like these schools had the major, these are where the schools are, these are the application deadline, the SAT scores requirements. Like I started doing all that like my junior year, going into senior year, and that's kind
Thanks,
of
big
how
sis.
yeah, and started seeing it every day on my wall, and it's like, all right, I'm gonna do something in sports, and I'm going somewhere in college.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, man, it's so amazing how things come together when you commit to the process. I think that's a big part of it, because you didn't really know, but then you said to yourself, okay, I'm going to know. It's not maybe if, no, I'm going to figure something out. I love sports. Where, what do these colleges offer for a person like me who loves the business side of sports? And then you have someone in your corner who, of course, your family puts in, but your sister kind of took your hand and actively put you on the path to get to where you want to go. So, where were your top five? Where were your top five schools that you narrowed that large list down and you said, okay, these five schools are where I could possibly go to get what I need out of college?
So my top five were, my number one was Towson in Maryland. My number two was UMD, so University of Maryland College Park. My number three was West Virginia University.
West
My number
Virginia.
four was St. John's, and my number five, honestly, um, I got to give it to Seton Hall. Number five was Seton Hall. Um, I don't know why. Something about Maryland at the time. I think I said it earlier. Like when I was playing baseball, my family made me go on vacation. My uncles, I have family in Maryland, and my uncles every summer when I was a kid, probably from the age of like 6 all the way until like my freshman year in high school was the last year. I was going to Maryland every summer, and we'll go to basketball camp. My uncle, who actually is a head coach at Shiloh in Georgia High School for basketball,
Mm.
which is a pretty well-known program. He always held a camp in Randallstown High School, Maryland, and we went every summer. So we went for a week. We go to camp. We spend time with family, and I was always in Maryland. So for some reason, Maryland were like, I just like the vibes, whatever. That was like my first top two schools were in Maryland.
Crazy.
Yeah. So for me, Maryland, for some reason, just the atmosphere. I was always in Maryland, and that was for some reason like those schools have the program, and I was just like, man, like I'm always in Maryland. Like I've been there, and like I'm comfortable there. I have family there. Those are my top two schools.
Okay.
Funny story, I didn't get into neither of them.
Oh, got him. Oh man,
So,
that's tough.
very very well respectable programs, high like very like hard to get into.
Right, right,
Uh,
right.
so my next three up were St. John's, Seton Hall, and West Virginia. Got into all three of those.
Okay, okay.
Had some scholarships for St. John's and Seton Hall, just academics.
Mhm.
And then for me, what made my decision and where I went to was I'm from New Jersey and New York, so I definitely didn't want to be here.
Okay, so you didn't want
So
to stay close to home.
no,
I had that same sensation, man. Mm.
I couldn't do it. Like Seton Hall's in New Jersey, I'm like, bro, I can't do Jersey again. Like I can't.
Yeah.
St. John's is in New York. I've been living and going back and forth to New York my whole life. I can't do it. So I wound up at West Virginia. I took a visit with my mom, and this time I went to college. I graduated high school June 2010. I went to college August 2010.
Okay.
So at this time, or around this time, they went to the Final Four. So I went to the Final Four with Bob Huggins. That's the year they beat Kentucky and some other schools.
Yeah.
And their starting five was all from New Jersey and New York. So shout out to all my guys. I know them: Truck, Kevin Jones, Wellington, Ebanks.
Ooh, another mean squad. Oh my goodness.
Tom Butler. So yeah, the starting five in that Final Four was from New Jersey and New York.
Okay.
So for me, it was just watching the Final Four. I was like, dang, that's crazy. Like, what these dudes doing out there in like the country? Like, and they was hooping. Like they were some up north tri-state hoopers.
Getting down.
Yeah, and then their football team, the last few years, they were some of the top programs in the country. You know, top 5, top 10. They had Pat White, Steve Slayton. These guys were just, at one point they was up for a national championship. But they took a loss one of those years, and that was kind of downhill from there. But it was just a lot of just brewed up. So I was like, man, I don't know why. Like I said, man, this school's like calling me.
Right,
So I went on a
right,
visit
right.
with my mom, and we get there, and my mom was like, she looking around like, you sure you want to go here? Like, we from the city. So she like, I don't see no black people, no nothing. Like she like, you sure you
Just
want to
go
go
to the
here?
football field and the basketball court, Mom. We'll find some.
Bro, literally.
Let's
So
go.
I was like, I guess so. I don't know. Like, I don't know. It was just calling me, man. It was calling me. So I was like, we went on a visit, and I was like, yeah, Ma, I think I like it. So we went on an orientation, and I kind of signed those papers, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to West Virginia. And people in high school was like, why are you going to West Virginia? I'm
Right.
like, I don't know. It was just something that calls, like, you just know, like,
Man, so I want to say two things about West Virginia. First of all, when we're talking about eras in college sports, I was just talking about Maryland. West Virginia had a mean run around that time that you came into school. And from basketball to football, I mean, it was just a wild time, for the program and the school. I can only imagine being in that. We're going to talk about being on campus. And then the second thing, you're an avid gamer. That West Virginia team on NCAA football was it was almost cheating, man, to pick that team.
The dorm rooms is on fire.
You can't pick West Virginia, man. It was a cheat code, man. In the video
Yeah.
games. Yeah, man. So let's get into it, man. So you choose West Virginia. It feels right. What's it like stepping on a campus like that? So you go from Jersey, you get out of your comfort zone, you end up in West Virginia and in the sticks. But when you get on campus, you are I mean, you're amongst some of the best college athletes in the country at that time. And we all know what it's like to have winning sports programs while being a college student. So tell me, what's that like stepping on campus for the first time, actually being there and moved in and everything? What's that like for you?
Yeah, definitely. So what's crazy was my transition also to West Virginia was I wasn't no all star in high school in football. I wasn't all American. Like I was just someone that was well positioned himself into to the team because I was very smart. You know, I knew a lot of stuff on all sides of the ball. So going into college, I actually wanted to play college ball. I
All
was
right,
like, you
all
know
right.
what, I want to walk on. I knew I wasn't going to the league. I knew I wasn't about to be no starter. I was like, man, I just want to set a goal and see if I can accomplish
Yeah.
it. So like West Virginia was another addition to why I went there. So yeah, I stepped foot on campus, man. It was nerve wracking. Like I got on, I was on an all boys floor, so it sucked. But
Ugh.
those are my guys. They're cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So I got in first day. You know, my family helped me set up, and they dipped. It was all right. They dipped. Met some guys on the floor. You know, they do like your initial when you walk. You know, once you get there, there's like a little barbecue and stuff.
Okay.
So I'm kicking with the floor, and after that, the next morning, I went to breakfast and I seen this guy, and I was like, "Hey, man, like, I'm gonna be honest. I was like, man, you're black, I'm black. Yo, let's get together." I was like, he was from Virginia, and that's still one of my closest friends. He was like, "Yeah, man, let's go." I was like, "I'm gonna be out in the sticks." I was like, "Man, I gotta make sure I have a team.
No
Like,
doubt.
I gotta have a team." So he was training for to walk on as well. So the first day of school, they had tryouts like 6 a.m. So I went there, walked into the stadium, and there was a bunch of people there, a bunch of kids there. And I was like, man, this is like a crazy experience. Like I knew I wasn't no crazy all star. So, but I'm like, there's probably a lot of kids here that were like all state or area or Americans, like guys that are trying to get on the
Right.
team. And we went and we stretched for like 20, 25 minutes. And then the workouts were like 10 minutes long. And this is when I got you start learning about all aspects of sports and the business of sports.
Right.
So I went in and I was like, man, this is crazy. Like that was like 30 minutes long and we walking out and kids were like, oh, I know I made it already. Like, how y'all know y'all made it? I was like, they ain't posted news to noon, he said.
What? Insider
And they
info.
was like, yeah. So they were like, nah, they was like, they not taking anybody besides preferred walk-ons. So they was like, they had to hold a tryout from a legality standpoint,
Oh
and
man.
anything like that. So their preferred walk-ons basically like, hey, we don't have no scholarships, but we want you to come here and play here. And they can't offer a scholarship. All you can do is prefer walk-on. You'll be a walk-on. So they have to have a tryout, but they knew who they were taking. Like they didn't have enough room space on the team
Yeah.
besides the guys they knew they were taking.
Yeah.
So I was like, copy. Like that was like it sucked, but I was like, all right, cool, like whatever. Like that was the first step into learning about
The
business side of
business. Yeah, yeah. The business of sports, right?
yeah. So that first day, my college actually every year they hold a concert the first day of school, which is called Fall Fest. Every year, first day of school is called Fall Fest, free concert. So I was like, man, I'm ready to go to the concert. Like you go to your class, you go to the concert, and Maroon Five and Ludacris was performing. So I was like,
That's
all
a
right, cool.
crazy
Like,
mix.
yeah, it was. You get a different lineups every year, and I was just excited because I was like, man, like I got to experience, that tryout, walk on tryout, even whatever it was. It was just like, all right, cool. Like that's just the nature of business of getting into to college football, college
Yeah.
sports. Then I experience being a student where like first day of school is a huge concert. Like everybody's out there. I'm like, wow, like this is the first day of school. I'm like, I can get used to this.
Yeah, yeah, right, 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 right.
So yeah, that's literally how like I step foot on campus and going forward, like it just transitioned from there.
Man, yeah, I think so. I appreciate my college experience, but I would have definitely have loved to have been on in a situation like that, with a big sports program, and just college life is just on the maximum level, right? So it's that part, going to a big school, Power Five school, if you will, being a part of that. I mean, it would also be great if I played in that. And then I always kind of envied the people who had the HBCU experience because of the culture that's attached to it, right? I mean, my school, again, I had a great experience. Everything worked out. But when I'm hearing these stories from other people, I'm like, yo, I don't know how would I have reacted as an 18-year-old in those same situations, you know what I'm saying? And just kind of growing and building in that moment. Yeah, so it's
Man,
cool to hear that, man.
many didn't even make it. So so at the time I went to school, which was 2010, till about 2013, 2012, 2013. We were like the number one party school in the country. So as a freshman coming on board, there were a lot of older people and just a lot of seminars and freshman class 101. They have the university 101 courses,
Yeah.
and I heard from a lot of older students. They were just like, "Man, if you can make it through the first year, you'll be fine." And I didn't understand that. I was like, "What do you mean? Like people don't make it through the first year? They don't make it through the first semester." I was like,
Maroon
"What?"
5 and Ludacris, man, on day one.
I didn't understand them until about a month in, and I'm like, "Yo, this is insane!" Like the college experience there, I was like, "This is insane! Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like partying from Sunday to Sunday every
Oh
day."
man.
It was just like you only have one or two classes a day. I'm used to being in high school. I'm up at six something, breakfast, walking to school, maybe morning weights. I have class from 7:30 until 2:30, and then you get a 30-minute break, which technically wasn't a 30-minute break because we gotta go to the field, get dressed, be ready by 3:15. You got practice until six something. I was just like, wait a minute, I have two classes, one at 10 to 10:50, and then one at 12 to 12:50. That's it. They like, and then Tuesday I might have one class. I'm like, wait a minute. So what I do for the rest of the day? Whatever you want to do. And man, I understood why people didn't make it past the first semester. It
I mean,
it was
the
insane.
freedom of college is also very scary because your parents aren't really breathing down your neck to make you go to class. Of course, they can have an influence, but you're not. They're not in the house with you. So when you wake up in your dorm room and you looking at your roommate and he's sleeping, and you look at yourself and you got the shades down and everything, it's like, man, listen, man, I'm a snooze this alarm a couple times. Next thing you know, you wake up, it's noon, you done missed the class. I mean, it's a lot of pressures, being a college student. I think a lot of people they don't really understand like the duality of it. Like, of course I want to make my family proud and I want to get this degree, but this party Tuesday night, man, it's gonna be crazy. You know what I mean?
You got to be honest with yourself and honest with people. I think one thing is undermine the college experience. Next many people I've seen it take over people's lives. I'm so thankful just how I was raised.
Yeah, that makes a big
Like,
difference, man.
yeah, just the what was instilled in me at an early age. It was always like when I got to elementary school, middle school, my parents were always on me about education. They looked over my homework, but the older I got, they gave me a little bit of freedom. So like, all right, cool, we're not gonna look over your homework. We just know you better not come here with nothing less than a B. You know, they didn't
Right,
care. They didn't care after that. It was like, all right, cool. They look at the report card. If it's A's and B's, they're fine.
right.
Like they're giving me that freedom to become an adult. So when I got to college, I knew from my side was my whole mindset was as long as I graduate, no matter how I graduate, as long as I graduate,
Right.
my mom would not care. She was just like, you better get out. So my first semester, I understood like I got to go to class. There were some classes I skipped sometimes, but that's actually another trick learning and being an adult. Sometimes you have to leave, skip a class to study for another class.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but it's all manageable. But the first semester, I learned that a lot of people didn't really have freedom in high school and growing up, and a lot of people were super strict parents, or people had too much freedom and growing up, and they just didn't have no structure, and they were just letting loose, and you can see the destruction um, on a lot of people growing up, and I was just like, man, this is crazy. Like I even some of my friends, I'm like, hey, yo, we're going to class. You coming? Like, nah, I'm not going to class, bro. What do you mean I go to class? It's 1 p.m. What are you doing? Like, oh, he's sleeping, bro. You don't get up and go to class.
Come
Like, what
on.
are you doing?
What are we here for? How does the saying go? You have to keep the main thing the main thing. Come
Like,
on, man. Like,
so
I know what we doing, but come on, man. We here for this. Yeah.
bro, it was bad. Like I seen kids not. I fell into it one time. My friends laughed at me one time. I didn't. One day I was like, I had to reflect on myself. One day I didn't go to class all day. Like some girls was like, "Hey, let's hang outside." I was on a basketball court just chilling from 9 a.m. And my boys walked past me like 4 times. It gets to 4 p.m. They're like, "Bro, you've been sitting here this whole time?" And I was like, "Yeah, the ladies, the girls just want to hang. Like, we want
Oh
to chill."
man,
They looked at me like, "Bro, get it
you're
together."
better than this.
And
Come on, Mike, you're better than this, man. They held that mirror up
they,
to you. They held a mirror up to you, man. Come on, man. Look at yourself.
it's in sometime, man. Like you said, that life is fun. It's different. It's a life experience that many won't get to experience and see, and it's something that you have to experience to learn and grow from. So I was happy to kind of make those stumbles, do the things like that, and I go to class for a full day and see it reflect onto my grades and say, "Oh my God, what am I doing? I need to go to class."
Right, right.
So yeah, it was a wild experience, man. It is so much. I can be here for hours talking about the experience. Damn, man, like
I can
it
imagine.
was.
I can imagine.
It was
You came to school at the right time, my friend. Because I can imagine. You can write a book. So Mike, we're going through the story, and you talked a bit about your relationship with the guys on the basketball team. Tell me a little bit about your interaction with not any details or anything, but in regards to what you do now, what did those relationships that you built with the athletes, what did it do for you in that moment? Was it just like we homeboys, or were you actually sharing knowledge amongst each other and actually just, you did it help shape your mind into where you are now? That college experience with those big time athletes, what did those interactions do for you?
Yeah. So I was just like me. I would take a quick step back. So for me, I had my second tryout for the team. It was like a year and a half later. I did pretty well, but at that moment, I made one cut. I went one way, my knee went the other way, and I was like, "Yeah, this is the Lord telling me it's not for
Oh
me."
man, that's tough.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it was one of those moments, reflection moments. After that, I kind of sat down with myself. Was like, all right, your dreams and goals, just to what's next. So for me, I was like, all right, I need to get involved in sports somehow, some way. So one, I knew I wasn't about to work for a football team or the men's basketball team because, to be honest, I'm not comfortable with no man at that moment telling me to get him some water or get him a
Okay.
towel
Yeah.
and any type of crazy voice because we'll be scrapping.
Yeah.
Like I'm just being
Yeah.
honest. So at that moment, I said, you know what? I'm gonna work with the women's team. I'm okay with some young ladies and some women telling me to do stuff. It's cool. I'm not taking it any crazy way. So I reached out and I got involved with the women's basketball team. And at that time, women needed as many staff. We didn't have as much staff as the men. So you kind of wore multiple hats. So I came on board 2012 as a student manager first, and it was a few guys there, and then it trickled down to just like four of us. It was two head managers, and then me and my colleague at the time,
Okay.
my friend at the time, and we were the staple managers. And from there, I was like part of the program. We were there for every practices, anything that had to go on, meetings, practices, scouting reports. I then became an intern for director of operations, so we helped with logistics for flights, travels, food. We were helping recruiting visits, summer camps, overseeing the camps and things like that. So I got a lot of experience working with the women's basketball team. I was excited because I got to travel as well. So we travel on our own planes, have our own rooms.
That's that
It was
Power
very,
Five
it was a
life. You got your own plane,
uh,
man. Ah, ugh.
so something I never thought I would experience in college was, it was crazy. Like it would be a Wednesday or Thursday, and they're like, all right, we're getting ready to leave. So I got to make sure the bus is packed. We got the loops for the team gear, everything
Yeah.
ready, everything we need, equipment, etc. Throw it on the bus. I make sure the meals on the bus. We on the bus. We ride to the plane, to the airport. Get on the plane. Everyone got their snacks, got their own rolls, and we're flying. And I'm flying to Texas. I'm going to Texas, Baylor. I'm going to Oklahoma, Kansas, Iowa, all these Big 12 teams. And I was like, man, like, who'd have thought, like, I'm flying for free? Like, I've never thought I can just, like, work with a team and just fly to these cities and fly to these universities and see these arenas. for free.
Man.
So it was a great experience, man. Like I'm blessed because I actually we won a 2014 regular season championship, so I got a piece of a net as well.
Okay.
Um, Amazing experience, man. Like amazing experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's so amazing how you started in one space and you had aspirations to be on the football team, which is normal. You fell in love with the game, you loved it, and then a bad cut, a bad movement on the football field had led you to a place where you may or may not have gotten as a walk on the football team. Like now you actually in the mix. You get to see everything. You get to see the best of the best. Of course, you're not actively doing it, but you're a part of a successful team, being the women's team, man. And you get to see and experience the Power Five experience firsthand. What I mean? Like who, and again, it's about just staying the course, man. Because when we are on these travels through our lives, man, you know we we always have a plan, but sometimes life happens. And because you stayed in the right mindset, you had the right mind frame. When you fell into an opportunity as opposed to actually falling down, into some mess. You fell right into another opportunity. You were ready. You took advantage of it, and then now we get to graduation. So graduation is approaching. What does graduation look like for Mike Seabrook? So it hasn't come yet, but you see it in your mirror. I mean, in the window. It's right there in front of you. What does graduation look like for you?
Yeah, definitely. So definitely going to finish your question before that you had another one. So me being part of the women's basketball team, I was in that athletic, the departments, the circles. So I built relationships with a lot of the athletes. I wasn't like BFFs with them, but they knew who I was. We had conversations here
Hmm.
and there. It was good to see the back end of the sports side. I've seen it from both ends. I've seen it from the business side as working with the team and being athletic, the offices and departments, are seeing how that transition and logistics goes and what goes into that. But then a lot of these guys were my neighbors. I seen them on the streets and we chatted here and there. We, hung out, sometimes at night. And from there, I seen the back end of things like, oh, okay, this is how this
Mm.
goes. Like,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
So like, when you hear everyone knows the stories of, Power Fives and big schools and recruiting and just athletes and the way of living. So I was able to see that and gain that experience and knowledge from those athletes. And taking all that within and transitioning to graduation, I didn't even know my next steps, honestly. I was working director of operations, intern for director of operations, for women's basketball, and for me, like I loved what I did. Like honestly, like just the family atmosphere we had there, like everyone's family. Like to this day, they're my family. Like the people that were there at the time, like I talked to on the regular, the athletes there, that I'm still close with, some of the staff I was close with. We were a family. Like I used to go hang out with some of the staff. The players. We knew the families. They created a family atmosphere, and to me, I was like, man, like I really love that. And then just the thought of getting a salary, but never have to spend anything because everything was on the school, like the school budget. Like we fly, we go to
Yeah.
hotels, whatever
Per
we did
diem,
was on the
all that
school
type of
budget.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, everything's on school budget. So I said, okay, cool, that's dope because you're getting a salary, but then you don't have to use your salary. You're getting gear from the
Yeah.
school. Every day we have lunch. You don't have to buy lunch.
Did you get a
For
sneaker
instance, renting
stipend?
cars. No, but I did get a pair of sneakers.
Yeah.
We get
Yeah.
sneakers, you know. So we did get fitted for sneakers. I got full blown gear, etc. But like just seeing like the coaches had cars from the local dealership, so like a lot of that stuff was in their contract. So I'm just like from a staff standpoint, you get a salary, don't spend anything, and that to me was like all right, that's cool. Like I'm thinking just like oh that's dope. I don't want to spend the money I can save. So I started looking into jobs as director of operations for women's basketball before graduation. I was reaching out locally to schools, whatever. And I thought I was going to do that at one point. I was like, man, I possibly can do that. Like, I can see myself doing that. It looks fun. But continue to going towards closer to graduation. I started applying for just internships. I was like, yo, man, I need to find a job, internship, etc. And I remember probably like 2 months before graduation, I was going to pay a fine to get a boot off my car
Oh,
because I
illegally parked.
parking
Yeah.
ticket, parking tickets, and I got a phone call, and they was like, "Hey, this is the New York Jets. Like, we got your application, and we would love to have you in for an interview." Blah 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 blah. I was like, "All right, cool, yeah, whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, I accept." And I hung up, and I'm just like, "New York Jets." I'm like, "Ain't nobody calling me from the New York
So
Jets." Like, come on, man. I didn't, normally you get an
luckily
email
they didn't ask
stating,
for your bank
"Hey."
information.
I was skeptical.
Yeah.
So like, I was crossing the street and my boy's coming out the barber shop. So he's like, "Why you look like that?" I'm like, "Yo, someone from New York Jets called me." He like, "It's real?" I was like, "I don't know, man. Who knows?" So I'm waiting for the follow up email with details. I didn't see anything for 2 days. So I was like, "Man, that joint was fake." Third day come, I get a full blown email saying, "Hey, we'll love to interview you this day, et cetera, et cetera." I'm like, "Oh snap! Like,
It's the real
this is
deal.
real."
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I accepted it, and literally, the interview was right before graduation. So I had like went home before graduation and like took the interview and came back to school, and finished out like 2 3 weeks left, just chilling before graduation. And I had got a call that I had got the opportunity. So upon graduation, I was like, "Oh snap! I'm going back home. Like, I got an internship with the Jets. Like, that's my favorite team. Like, who? Like, right out the gate. Like, that's what I was
Wow.
gonna do." But before that, I didn't explain the situation of my graduation. So I didn't graduate in 4 years. I graduated in 4.5 years.
Okay. Okay.
So my mom was a little lenient, but graduated in the December of that year, and I still had a lease to fill out. So I said, "You know what? I'm gonna just work, fill out this lease, and and walk with all my friends that are gonna walk in the spring."
Yeah.
So within that time, I was just working in school, just working at our local Best Buy, which I was already working at, and I didn't know my next steps before the graduation, before the internship. I didn't know my next steps. I was like, "Man, what am I supposed to do?" I was applying for jobs, nothing was hitting. Applying for internships, nothing was hitting. So I was like, "All right, maybe go to grad school." So I applied to grad school. My GPA was not the highest. I'll be honest, like not the
Okay.
highest at all. But I had enough pull and strength from on campus from higher ups. I was very well known, very involved in a lot of different organizations. So I had enough pull. So I asked these people to write my letter of recommendations. I kind of pleaded with them that this is something seriously I wanted to do, and due to my GPA wasn't high, but they knew my work ethic and what I brought to the campus and brought to the programs
You'd
or
be a
whatever I
great
was doing in the
representative
organization.
of that
Yes.
recommendation. So, okay.
So I wouldn't got into no grad school, any other school but West Virginia because of my recommendation letter. So I had some high up people write it, and basically I got approved and I got accepted on provisional,
Okay.
provisional to grad school. But it was an online program, so it was amazing because fast forwarding back to what we were talking about, that internship back at home, I can do it because this program is online. So I'm
Man,
like,
it's so
man,
crazy how things align, man. Ugh.
yeah, like I said, cool, I'm gonna do this grad school program online, go back to the mecca of New York, where every sport job is possible. Like anything, agencies, marketing reps, advertisements, networks, teams,
Right there.
everything's in New York. So I'm like, man, I can go back there and figure it out. Jets were the first opportunity. And that's kind of how I went from graduation and transition into like the start of me working in the field.
So again, so Mike, this is why I love people to come on and tell their story, and you, of course, you're sharing it in detail, which is super dope. Like the alignment of everything is just amazing. You know, had West Virginia accepted you and you had to actually physically be in class, the you would have had these two things going at the same time, right? Like, do I go to Jersey or do I go to school and finish up and maybe, the opportunity will be there again, and you said like everything just aligned. No, it's online classes, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, are you kidding me? Of course I'm accepting the job with my favorite team, the New York Jets. Are you kidding me? Like, man. So what? Okay, so I mean, I gave you a little. I gave you some nuggets about what the interview is going to be like, but I have to ask you about your experience as an intern with the Jets. Like, I mean, you in the
um,
you in the you in the mix now. Capital
yeah,
MIX. You in the mix. What's it like now being with the Jets and around, just all of your favorite players? I mean, you get to rock the green and white, which is a legendary colorway, by the way. You're there with your favorite team. What is that like?
I would say one thing for me, I think just overall in the sports industry, I've never been blown away or taken back at any moment because just my family upbringing, like my family's always been like in entertainment and always held like parties, managed music artists. They've been in the sports entertainment
Okay,
side here
all
and
right.
there. So the way like my family groomed me, like, and my cousin played ball, like we all play sports. I don't look at another athlete as athlete. To me, like they're just regular people to
Humans.
me. Like
Yeah.
they meet. I look at myself as them, and to me, I'm just like, hey, they want their bros, things like that. And working at West Virginia, I knew how to conduct myself when it came to work in the
Yep.
sports realm. So when I transitioned into the Jets, my first year it was just game days. So I was doing game days, working with season ticket holders, doing events, etc. during games, and I noticed that a lot of people were just comfortable with just like the boss say, "Hey, I need you to stand there." They'll go stand there. That's it. For me, I was always a anytime I took a job, I always thought like a manager. Or thought like a
Right.
boss. I don't even care if I'm a
Right.
janitor. You know, do they need me to mop? They said mop this wing, but they're gonna need me to mop the next wing too. So let me just mop both
Yeah.
of
Let
them
me
at
get
this
started.
time.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So for me, like when I always thought as a manager. So when my boss told me, hey, this is what the job is. What we're doing today. This is what I need you to do. I'm already 10 steps ahead. Like, okay, cool. This might happen. This might happen. They might ask this. We might do this. And through those home games that I were doing, I was just like going above and beyond. Like I was just blowing them out the water. And I was being strategic as well. The person that was my supervisor, she was a coordinator. I was like, nah, I don't need her. I need to find the directors, the managers. Like, so I went into the office during games and I noticed that the senior manager, who was the director now, she was a black woman, and there was a bunch of other black staff in the room, and they were all directors, senior managers. So I used to go ask them like, "Hey, y'all need me to do anything? Like, hey, what do you need to do? If you need anything, I'm the person." And I just wanted to get close to them because those are the people that
Make
make the
decisions. Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah.
So I kind of started assisting them. Anytime there's like, hey, they needed help, they'd be like, Mike, come with me. Hey, Mike, come with me. And I think the turning point for me was at post game. Normally they take like season ticket holders and fans, they bring them on the field. You can take pictures,
Yeah.
experience stuff. And I was with the senior manager at the time, and we was on the field and we're coordinating everything. And Darrell Rivers was doing a promo video at the end of the game for some apparent reason, and I don't know who was it for, but like he was on the field doing a video, and the fans were only at halfway mark, like they couldn't go past a half the half
Yeah.
50-yard line, and Darrell was at the end zone, and this man starts jogging to the fans, and I'm like, wait a minute, oh my god, like please don't do this. So he started running towards the fans, and it just like goes in to the fans, and my manager face is just like, oh my god, like she's like freaking out. She's like, yo, like we all
Yeah.
know who
Yeah.
Darrell
Yeah.
Rivers is, so we don't need this person to get hurt
Right.
at all. So I'm like, she's freaking out. So I immediately like reaction goes into it. I like go in and I'm like holding him, like I'm kind of boxing him into me. So like everyone's like trying to get over
Yeah.
me to get to him, but like they can't touch him. So I'm like, all right, cool, I got him. And then like I like scoot him out. We scoot him out the way, and he just like waves at the fans, daps, tech some high fives and dips. And at that moment, my manager's like, yo, like I'm glad you moved. She was like, yo, I was freaking out, like oh my god. And like after that day, like I was on point. Like I was good. Like anytime she was like every game after that she comes, she's like, Mike, you with me. Don't do what the coordinator said. You rocking with me.
All because
And
you saved
postseason,
the real Revis. Because they probably would have ripped the jersey off his back, man.
oh, they were like pulling the
Oh my
jersey,
God.
and at that moment, I was like, yo, like as a business person, but actually as a fan too, I'm like, yo, we can't have this person hurt. Like Terrell Reeves, like what are you
Yeah.
doing? So it went from that moment to doing what they tell you to do is follow up emails and thanking. So like when my season was over, I followed up with the senior manager, thanking her, appreciating her, and just say, hey, I would love to find more ways to work. Like I only work game days. So I was like, hey, I would love to find more ways to work. She called me and she's like, hey, there's a way to do more. And she's like, hold on. And it's like she moved me to another department. She was like, yo, I'm
Okay.
moving you here. So then I moved into like an events and fan engagement department, and that department literally covers everything. Like anytime there's a sponsor event, a player pop up, community event, practices, game days, like you have to be like staff has to be there. So I transitioned into that role, and from there I was like, all right, cool. I went into it, and it basically was like stepping up as a leader because the people that was my coordinator, supervisor, they were just interns the year
Yeah.
before.
Okay.
They were interns the year before how they were running the show because the former coordinators left. So like they just hired the two top interns. So like cool, these interns that just got hired. No, I didn't even know that, but I'm like, oh, these guys just got hired. I'm new, they're new. So like cool, like so I'm like, it's not like someone that was super
Mm-hmm.
seasoned, like so like they were fresh and new. So I'm like, cool, I know that they're not really
Yeah.
knowing
Yeah.
anything. So I took that experience in every event I work, so I work pop up events. So if a player has a pop up in a state of New Jersey somewhere, like they send somebody there. Like, hey,
Yeah.
go make sure that player's good. No one wilds out. He's good. Hey, we have a charity event. We're setting up everything, breaking it down, running the event. I ran multiple 5Ks. If there was a Play 60 event, kids event, whatever it is, sponsored training
Right.
camp,
Right.
we're there. So I took like the initiative, just like, yo, just in me. I'm like, cool. Hey, yo, I need you to get up, go do this. Hey, can you go do this? I'm thinking 10 steps ahead. This might happen. Put this in your pocket. Like
Right.
I
Right.
was on it to the point where after like 6 months, the coordinator was like, hey, like it was like 3 or 4 of us that were like top people where I'll come in during the weekdays and like work around the facility. We'll eat in a cafe for lunch or breakfast and then like work around the facility and stuff like that. And I started slowly building that reputation where people knew who I was from the main staff to just, front door
Yeah.
people. And it was dope because I'm walking through the facility and I'm like, man, I'm really like working at the
Yeah.
place I
Right.
wanted to
Right.
work, like starting there. And it was an amazing experience, training camp, man, the players, like after a while, the players know you if you're that type of person. So training camp coming, I need stuff from them every day. I'm like, hey, we gotta go sign this. I need you to go talk to them. I need you to do something for socials. Yeah, this person needs something. And after a few days, like they like, dang, bro, you out here too? I'm like, bro, I'm out here
Every
every day
day.
with y'all. Like, and we started building that, that reputation, where they knew who my face was. So anytime I'm at an event, I'm dapping them up. We chopping it, and that's kind of slowly what built my relationship with athletes and just like, all right, cool, man, I can build a relationship with athletes. Like this is the starting point of how I got to the end point where we're gonna be speaking about is building a relationship with athletes is super easy for me. Like they're me. Like
Right.
I'm just like talking to you. Like I'm like, yo, we had an event and your bosses tell you don't speak to the
Yo,
athletes. I'm like, speak to
that's
the
really
athletes.
crazy for them to say that because it's like, of course, we're not sharing, confidential information with the athletes, but they are the reason why we're employed here. So we can't interact with these. Like,
Bro,
how crazy is that?
man, the rules are so crazy there. Like, and I understood sometimes because some people are more fans
You have to
than
draw a
on
line.
point. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
people,
I understand. Yeah,
yeah. But for me, I remember like my boss was trying to be like, "Oh, you're speaking to so and so." I'm like, they coming up to me like every train. I've been here for a decent amount of time. Training camp, they're like, "Bro, I ain't seen you yesterday." I was like, "Yo, I had to do something." They like, "All right, cool." Like they come dap me up in the morning. We chopping it. I'm like, I'm not coming to speak to them. It just to me like they're like brothers. They bros. Like
we
you know,
and
it's just regular normal
you're in it
conversation.
together. So of course they're the ones who putting in the
Yeah,
blood and the sweat and the tears, and the coaches they're putting together the game plans and all of this stuff. But listen, your job at that time is to make sure that they get the most out of their experience playing in that organization. So everyone should be working together. Why can't he come over and say, "Hey man, how you doing today?" Like, oh, that's wild.
man. The staff was like a lot of staff was cool, and then some of the staff was just like they took their jobs too
Okay.
seriously sometimes, and that's where for me it was like it didn't bother me because I'm like, you can't stop me. Like these dudes, like, and then some of the guys like played with some people I knew and knew some people I knew. So we were just like, oh, you know, so and so. Like that was my roommate in college. I'm like, that's my bro, man. We played in high school, or just like, you know, so and so. I'm like, yeah, that's my friend's boyfriend. She's like, oh, that's my guy. Blah blah blah. I'm like, so for me, it was just like, I'm like, yo, I have a relationship with guys because I just happen to be in that space, that
Yeah.
circles. Like I was trying to be an athlete. Like I just happen to know people. But it was an amazing experience. I got to do a lot of cool stuff, which I think will transition into the Curtis Martin
Yeah.
thing. We work
Hmm.
events, so my staff is staff for everything, any and every event, anything that's possible. So Curtis Martin got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and they were doing the Ring of Honor
Hmm.
for the New York Jets at the MetLife for that game. So my role normally is whatever activation, so any pregame, postgame, midgame activations and media stuff, whatever happens, like stuff like that, like it goes through my department. So like my bosses are the head, and kind of just like we trickles down. So like I was
Right.
overseeing a lot of that stuff. So we brought the Hall of Fame bus from the Hall of Fame, and basically we do a walkthrough of like where they're walking through, who's going to be managing them, etc. So I got the whole like the Joe Namath one, the Curtis Martin one, and it gets to halftime and we're doing it, and like I'm on a walkie, and I'm like, cool, I got to make sure these guys come out, and like he's next to me, and I gotta like escort him through the tunnel
Hmm.
to the field, and like I'm trying my hard. I'm never a fan, but I'm trying my hardest not to like grin and just like, yo, can I? And like that, like it was one of those real moments where it's like it's seeping out of me. I'm like, yo, like I just gotta
Oh
control
man.
myself. So I get them to the field. You know, they do the Ring of Honor, and we remove the bus. You know, there's people that remove it, and I got other intern staff. We remove everything, so we escort him back off, and he like, oh, appreciate it, thank you, and I like shook his hand. I'm like, oh man, I'm a huge fan. Like, you don't even know. I'm a huge fan, but I'm trying to remain,
Yeah, be
at work.
professional. You know,
At
you
work,
yeah.
yeah. And he laughed. He's like, "That's all good, man," etc. And at that moment, I was like, "Yo," like that's when it clicked for me. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm really working in like
Yeah.
the field. Like I'm out here." Like so that was like one of the top moments, and just being around Joe Namath on the regular, like
Cool as a
that man's a
fan,
pro.
right?
He's a
Okay,
man.
yeah,
He's
yeah, yeah.
hilarious.
That's how he comes off. Like Joe Namath is cool as a fan. You
Yeah,
know, he played in the one of the in the nasty, nasty era of football, right? And he survived, and he remained cool, just like he was back in the day, rocking full length fur coats. You know what I mean? Pulling up to the stadium. You know,
still does.
like he was big
Does.
game back there, man.
He exude that energy. Like he still does. Cool dude. People be nervous to talk to a lot of these guys. Like my personality, I talk to anybody, any like regular. And he can walk through the building whenever he wants to. His family, his daughters and stuff, they're well known through the organization. So like I said, it was just experiencing more so like the legends. Like, we work a lot with the Jets legend
Right, right.
communities and things like that. And it was just being able to be around those guys and see them, and just it's exciting, because you grow up watching some of these guys, and it's like cool, man. Like I'm not going to super fan out, but it's also an amazing experience to say when you look back to say, hey, man, like my job was to manage Joe for the day. Like wherever Joe
Right.
go, you go. Like you escort Joe, and it was just like, man, when you think about it, it's like that's kind of an experience. Like you don't think
Yeah,
about it,
because you're
but
in the
like
moment and you're trying to be professional. But
yeah,
yeah, I'm sure reflecting on it now, it's like, yo, I really was kicking it with Joe Namath and Curtis Martin for a full day. Like yeah. So Mike, so we're gonna pivot, and we're now in the present. And I was gonna ask you where the seed was planted for Brookline Sports. I was gonna wait to save the name of the company, but I mean, you told me where the seed was planted. The seed was planted at at West Virginia. The seed was planted working with the New York Jets. So what grew inside of you to make you say, I don't want to continue to climb up the ladder for the New York Jets. It's time for me to break away and do what I need to do. At what point did everything click for you?
So for me, I would say one thing about my background, like I've held multiple opportunities, positions at the same time. So the first year I walked was 2015. So I went into the Jets 2015 of the fall, like the NFL season, just working game days,
No.
like just strictly game days. And then the springtime is when I transitioned into like working events and stuff like that. But I was doing a marketing agency job then in the springtime of 2016, working full time. It was a wild experience. I don't even want to dive into
Right, right.
that, but full time experience there. Then in the fall of 2016, I was working with the Jets as well during the season, but I got an associate program job with the Madison Square Garden, and that's where the beginning really
Working with
started. Like that's
MS,
when
was
everything
it
started.
just the MSG under the MSG umbrella, or were you working with the network?
I worked with the
All right.
MSG, the umbrella. So I worked for Madison Square Garden. I
Yeah,
know like
yeah.
there's the network.
Of course,
MSG
yeah,
owns a
yeah.
lot, but which I learned. But they have this program. Along you're in school, you can do their program. You work like 40 hours, 35 to 40 hours a week, full time. So I was doing that, and while working there, a lot of stuff kind of transpired. So from there, I think it was 2016 in the fall. There was a lot of stuff going on in the news. So like a lot of guys were like DUIs, a lot of guys were just domestic violence. There's a lot of criminal activities when
Right.
it comes to athletes. Um, there was like articles of athletes going broke, being taken advantage of from their financial advisors, their agents,
Shout out to the
managers.
Broke documentary.
Um, Literally 30 for 30 broke is what also inspired. Like it just
Yeah.
everything was just like trickling in. It was just like a domino effect. And for me, it was like being around the Jets, so being around those athletes and asking those type of questions, like, "Oh, like, what do you guys do outside of playing on this field?" A lot of them just like nothing. Um, Being around the athletes at West Virginia, and a lot of them were my neighbors, and just asking what were their vision for themselves and career wise. No one really had a next step outside of playing. And I think for me, the last pivot point was an alumni had reached out to me from WU from one of the alumni chapters, and they were looking to get a former athlete a job. And I'm not going to name the person, but well respectable, well
Right.
known person. And I was just confused, like, yeah, I don't just have a job waiting for this person. I was like, you know, they don't just have jobs waiting for athletes, like
Uh,
from your
I mean,
network or the
these
school.
corporations
And
create job titles monthly, for people who
yeah,
they want to be in the company, right? So why not do it for the athletes,
so
who have represented the school and made them tons of money, and.
So that right there, honestly, was like the school. I'm like, you guys at the school for those programs don't have a network of people that just have jobs waiting for these guys. And that was the clicking point for me. Was like, okay, cool. I know what I want to do. I was like, I connect with too many people. I have too many relationships. Getting my master's in marketing, I was like, LeBron and his team are doing things that are just like obviously LeBron
Mm,
James, but they're doing so many dope things outside of playing basketball, and that was a
that's the
lot of
blueprint.
inspiring to me. It was like, yes, the blueprint of athletes can do the same thing too. Like you can do things scalable to your career in life. There's a lot of opportunities in doing marketing, a lot of opportunities in community, a lot of opportunities in investing, getting involved in so much. So for me, that was literally the turning point. So November, I still remember the date. It's crazy. November 30th, 2016. I was still at MSG. I was at work and I hated it. It was very dry, mundane, cubicle life, suit and tie, very old fashioned corporate life. And I was like, man, this ain't it. And I literally Googled how to create an
Going back to
LLC,
Google
and I
again.
Googled it.
Google is your friend, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know. I just Googled it. I wrote down notes, like what it takes, what I need to do. And honestly, it was just like fill out a form online, go to the state portal, fill some information out, pay a fee, and you get your LLC, you get you get all your addendum, whatever it
Right.
is, you get all that. And I'm like, cool. So I paid the fee, printed the stuff out at MSG while I worked, and I said, okay, cool. This is the first step, and for me to make sure this is real, because a lot of times people have ideas and say they're gonna do stuff, never
Yeah.
wind up doing it. And for me, I didn't want that to happen. To say, oh, I'm gonna do this, and there was nothing really pulling me to do it. So for this moment, I'm saying, cool, I have an LLC. Like
Right.
that's the first step. Every day, I would wake up and say, this is something I have to do because I made it official. Like made it
Yeah, you
official.
you actually did it.
So that was the starting point right there that started the transition and progression into Brookline Sports.
That and of course, as we progressed through the story, this is where we are now. You are the guy at Brookline Sports. Tell us what Brookline Sports is, what and yeah, what it means to you.
Yeah, so for everyone, Brookline Sports is I'll call it a marketing agency. You can call it a consulting agency, management agency. For me, Brookline Sports is working with athletes, professional athletes, on all their off fields endeavor. So off court, off field, anything outside of the playing field, playing sports. I want to focus on helping athletes develop and create their brand. There's so much opportunity for athletes when it comes to branding. A lot of athletes don't do branding well. So for me, it's helping athletes create their brand and develop their brand. So we do brand management, we do marketing, we do community engagement and outreach, and we do post-career transition. One thing huge for me is getting involved in the community. Athletes have no choice. So anybody that I'm recruiting, I'm prospecting, I'm getting involved in, they have to be somewhat want to get involved in the community. If not, I don't work with them. Like that's a turning point. Like, hey, like this is not a ultimatum. Like this is happening. So that portion and then post career transition. When you come on board for me is when I gather all the information from the athletes, it's helping them start that post career transition early. What can we do? What stepping stones we can do now to help you later? So if it's like, hey, I don't know, I like training. Okay, cool. Like what things would you need to be a
Right.
trainer after sports? Let's go get you certified. Let's go get you, equipment. Let's go get you, shadowing somebody that's training. If you want to be an investor, how do you get in those circles? How do you gain that knowledge? Let me put you in the right position to learn that information and get you the right professionals around you. That's kind of what we do. I'm taking, like you said, a blueprint from Maverick Carter, LeBron. My job is to be that focal piece in an athlete's team to grow them off the
Yeah.
field. They're going to make those moves on the court, on the field, but how do we elevate that? How do we maximize you being a starter? How do we
Yeah.
maximize that? How do we increase your social following? How do we increase your social presence in the community? How do we increase you, getting involved in marketing opportunities? How do we increase you on your, post career? Whatever it is, let's start now. Let's start the seeds, like you said, now, and let it grow while you're playing. And when you leave, you just move on in. So that is Brookline Sports right there for me.
Man, and the reason why that is important is because I was watching something the other day, and they were talking about how players nowadays, especially in the younger generation, their hands are in a lot of different places, right? So you have to have your brand has to be popping. So I want as many Instagram followers, TikTok, Snapchat. We want to make sure that our online presence is strong, and then we want to invest in NFTs. We want to invest in this and that. We want to do this. And what this individual was saying, um, he was saying it was actually Norm Nixon who played for the Lakers a while back. He was saying that's okay, but guys, you have to remember you need to be professional and actually play the sport because that's where the bulk of your income is coming from. So you're focusing on all of this other stuff, making appearances, club appearances, this and this. But my guy or ma'am, you have to play well. You have to be a professional. You have to show up on time. You have to put your time in. So these people can continue to give you these large contracts, which will in turn set you up on the back end. Then you'll be popping for sure. But I think a lot of our athletes nowadays, especially our younger generations that are coming in, I, I, they're very good at what they do, but I think it's a little bit backwards coming in, and it's amazing that people like you have said, "Okay, let's take a breath. I got you. I'm coming to save you from regretting all of these moves you're making right now." No, man, but it's great to hear. It's really
You,
refreshing.
you hit it. You hit it on the nail because for me, it's I want athletes to do that. Like I want athletes. For me, like it excites me when I meet an athlete that has all this interest or all this, things they're doing, because those are the guys I want. I want the guys that have a
Yeah.
lot going on to say, hey, my job is to take that from you, manage and organize it, and you go play ball. You guys go
Yep.
do what you're supposed to do. Like I don't want you worrying about this. My job is to structure it to a point where is not
No.
inconvenience for you. So it's like, hey, I make a call, say, hey, put this on your calendar. This is all you got to do. Hey, I need an hour out of your day this day to just go over this. I don't need you to worry about it every day. I don't need you to no. This is my job is to manage it. Anyone want to speak to you, they have to go through me. We'll vet it. I'll bring it to you when the time comes. But that is my job for you to just enjoy being an athlete. Like go in, play ball, do whatever it is, enjoy it, hang out. If there's something you're interested in, like, hey, my teammate did this, send it to me. I'll go research it. I will go talk to my right
Right.
peoples, my attorneys, my whatever it is. Let's. I want you to enjoy being playing ball. Now, my job is to bring you in to understand all this. So, we have weekly calls or 2 week calls. I call them on a
Yeah.
regular anyway, but just to say, hey, I just need an hour. So we're just going to go over these things. Hey, we have these community opportunities. Are you interested in it? Yes, no. I mark it. All right, cool. We'll put it on these
Do
calendars.
you
I
do
need
you
you
tell
this
them
time.
to, hey man,
Hey, we have
hey,
mark.
bring out the notebook that I sent you? Do you have to tell them, hey,
Yeah,
that pen that I bought for you, that
yeah.
notebook, pull it out for me, please? Let's talk about this.
Like, it's a good experience because I've learned how athletes operate, and it's great because, like you said, athletes have so much going on. I want those athletes because it's easy for me to manage that. Like,
Yeah.
cool, I can manage all that. The athletes that don't, and you're trying to upstart things, is a little tougher because they're not used to
Yeah.
having so much going on. So they just used to just
Yeah.
winging it. And I'm just like, hey, now I need some structure. Like, I need you to understand that I need you to answer these calls, answer these texts. When I call and text you, I need you to be
Yeah.
here at these times, do this. So yeah, it's amazing the younger generation coming in and being so open minded and
Yeah. It's
doing so
beautiful.
much. I want those are the guys
Yeah.
like they get it.
Yeah, man. So let me ask you this, and I don't want to keep you all day, man, because I know you probably have to FaceTime your folks back home to tell Mama Love Happy Mother's Day. We're filming on Mother's Day.
Where
Uh, but what are some of the common pitfalls that you see the athletes run into in your profession, especially with your skill set? You can probably see it from a mile away. What are some of the common pitfalls that you see for those guys?
definitely, I would say starting from the beginning, I would say is following the trend. So a lot of people, when you go into, it's just breaking this mold. Everyone is, hey, if you're about to enter a draft in any sport, what does that process look like? I don't know, but I know I saw on TV last year, or the guy that was at the school last year signed with these people, and he did it this way, so I'm gonna do it that way. For me, it's just a lot of these athletes are continuing to do the normal old
Yeah,
routine and old stuff, and it's like, hey, this is a new era. Like you need to vet these people properly. Figure out what best fits you, and not continue to do what
absolutely.
the trend is doing. It's like, hey, yeah, it's like, hey, I know I want to get involved in these type of things, and I need someone to do that. So for me as athletes, is like understanding that aspect, and I'm gonna just go down to points when it goes to marketing. Understanding how marketing works. I don't think probably a lot of athletes don't
Right.
understand how marketing works. There's so many avenues to different marketing. And I think explaining that to athletes and explaining how, you know, content creation is huge nowadays. It's like, hey, just taking a normal picture of a product on a kitchen table is
Uh-uh.
not going to get you a deal. So a lot of athletes are like, hey, I want a deal. I want a deal. I want a deal. How do I get endorsement deals? How do I get marketing deals? And I'm just like, hey, you only have 1 or 2 pictures on your Instagram. That's not helping. I can't go to a brand and say, hey, my client has 20 grand, 20K followers, and he's interested in your product. We'd love to do a deal. They're like, hey, we went to the Instagram page. He has 2 pictures.
Your picture could be the third.
He has, yeah, he has 100 comments, and he didn't comment or reply or like on any of
Oh
them. So he has
gosh.
no engagement.
Yeah, that's tough.
And it's like explaining to athletes why they need a post, like why they need to reply and like things and just be engaging and creating content and pushing more. And it's like the more you do that, the more brands and companies understand, that, okay, cool, this person is out there, like their face is out there, they're well known on the team and the sport. but they also engaging with fans. Like we can thrive on that because if they're promoting our product, fans or audience is definitely going to buy into that. So for me, like athletes understanding marketing, how to properly market themselves is huge. Like, what does that look like? And I don't think a lot of
Mm.
athletes do know that. Next point is community. A lot of pitfalls there is I've spoken to a lot of athletes, especially for the Jets and a lot of different athletes. A lot of athletes actually do want to get involved in the community.
Okay.
They just don't know where to begin. And I think with them is they don't have the necessary people around them to do that. And for me, it's like if getting involved in the community is something important to you or like you would love to do, I will always say seek people that are in that space. There are a lot of people, professionals that do specifically like athlete community involvement. They do athlete foundations, they develop those. For me, it's like sitting down with yourself before signing papers to anything and say, hey, what does my career look like? Like, what do I want to do with my life and career in this league? It's like, hey, I know I'm gonna get a contract, so that's check. I need an agent for that. What else do I want to do? I know I want to get involved in the community and develop a foundation. How do I do that? Who can I have to assist me with that? Because a lot of people just think that they sign with these agencies and everything is crystal clear, but majority of the time it's not. Like you have to seek others
Yeah.
to help you with those things. And I think it's understanding that at an early stage to say, cool, let me find the right people to help me with these things, certain things that will build my core team. Like this would be team, Xavier. Team Xavier is my agent handles my contract, you know, uh, agent B or person B handles my community initiatives as well as my outreach and as well as my foundation development. Person C handles all my branding and marketing and social media ideas and
Right.
content stuff, etc. Person D handles my financial stuff. What does my financial planning look like? My investments, getting involved in different investments, if it's real estate, if it's tech, early, startup, stuff like that. Having that core team to say, okay, cool, now that I'm a business, I look at myself as a
Yep.
business. I have all these players here. They all have jobs and roles to do. And majority of athletes don't do that. They think it's a one stop shop. When they sign agents, and that's when years down the line they're like circling back, trying to, hey, I would love to do this. Can I help you? Can you help me out? And I'm like, I can, but like you missed your maximum peak. But then those year 2 and year 7,
Yeah.
you're in year 10,
Right. Exactly.
on the back end.
Father Time is
So
undefeated.
it's
It's
getting
in sports.
man. So it's getting athletes early. I think for me, if I'm speaking to the athletes right now or anyone listening, it's getting to these guys at an early stage, and I want athletes to sit themselves down to say, "Hey, I'm not an athlete. I'm a business. This is, Michael Seabrook LLC, and what does Michael Seabrook LLC looks like? He's a professional athlete, plays in a league. Well, who works with that? I have an agent that handles that. Well, Michael Seabrook LLC needs marketing. Well, who handles that? I need to
Yeah.
find someone to help, you know, marketing and branding and things like that. Who is going to organize all this? I need to have a manager. Who is going to get me involved in the community? Let me find someone that does community involvement. Who's going to handle my finances? Like, let me make sure I find someone specifically for that. And when you have all those pieces, that creates Michael Seabrook LLC, where it's a well-oiled business. Now your branding and marketing person, their job is just to focus on you marketing and branding. They're creating content, they post on your socials, they're going out getting you deals. Your agent handles that
Yeah.
contract,
Right.
make sure you have a job, and make sure that revenue is coming in. Your community person is going to make sure your face is passionate in the community. You're the uplifting citizen. You're getting involved. And all that
Hmm.
PR rep is coming. That financial person is going the key to make sure everything is being ran properly and you have a lot of income coming in, but also he's helping you create more income. And
And
that's how
paying
you
your
build an
doggone
enterprise.
taxes
Like that.
for you young guys. You do that
Bingo.
first. Ain't no income unless it's coming a little bit coming back to to the man.
That's just,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sam wants to start.
Yeah, so I love that approach, man, and I love the fact that you've covered all of the bases, right? And you talk about community and why it's important to not only you as an individual, but it's important to Brookline Sports. W- We talked a little bit about this in our pre-recorded meeting. What's the difference between a photo op, which I've experienced, being a young kid and having someone just come back to the neighborhood and he takes a couple of pictures and and he's out, and real community outreach. What are the difference between the two things, and why do you guys focus on the latter?
Yeah. So we all know photo ops. We've seen them. We've been there. You might be outside or part of a community organization, and it might be in school or something. And this player comes in, says hi, says a few words, take a pictures, and he bounces out. And then it get posted
Yep.
around that this player is in the community, etc., but not really
The
leaving no
people in the
impact.
community are like,
I
nah,
think
he
that's the
he was here, but he wasn't here.
yeah, he was here, but he wasn't here. He came out, took a few pictures, handed out a few
Out of here.
turkeys, and called it a day. Which we're thankful for,
Right.
but it ain't changing nothing. But for me, um, community means more to me, and I want to emphasize as an athlete is, you guys are blessed. At the end of the day, we all came from different upbringings. You guys made it to an amazing opportunity. So many people look up to you as these, put you on a pedestal. They look at you as the people they want to be like and see like. And for me, I said it before, I look at these guys as regular
Illness.
bros, but a lot of people, younger people, older people too, look at these athletes as inspiration. They look at these people as role models. They look at these people as someone they want to
Right.
model themselves after. And for me, it's you're in a position where you have access to resources that many people don't have, you know. And I use the example all the time is LeBron James can pick up the phone and call Bezos, and obviously, people are gonna be like, "Oh, Bezos is super rich," but like LeBron name is so well known, and his impact is so huge that he can get a meeting with Jeff Bezos in a blink of an eye. Like
Bezos
he can
he
get a
almost
meeting
has to
with Jeff
pick up the
Bezos.
phone. He can't not answer that call. You know, like
Yeah. Hey, it's LeBron James. Like, you know what? I make
right,
some room. I can
right.
find room today on the calendar. LeBron. But I use that example for me is, everyone's not LeBron, but you athletes have access and resources to utilize your platform. So for me, it's the impact we have in the community. So with an athlete, if there's something we have access to or we can get access to, if it's, hey, I have relationships with so many different businesses and brands and professionals that work there, and I'm like, hey, man, this athlete wants to go back in their community and refurbish the courts, or want to go back in the community and start a mentorship program. How can we do that? And they need laptops or they need this. Well, he's an athlete, so how can we utilize him being an athlete, bring those resources into the community, and leave an impact? So it's like, well, they looking for a partnership. They want him to come speak or wine and dine and be at some events or do some things like and market and cool. We can do that, but we want to make sure these kids in the community have the technology they need. We want to help build this program. We want to send kids to school. We want you guys invested into that, and that's how for me is like we want to leave impact. So for me, it's partnering with organizations, community other community organizations to say, hey, my athlete wants to mentor, huge mentor, and they were like, "Hey, we can do something where he just pops in, his face, he jumps on a call with these guys." And I told him, he was like, "Nah, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to be able to physically, I will find time to
Yeah.
physically mentor at least 5 kids.
Okay.
That's what he wants to do." And I'm like, "All right, cool. Like, we're gonna do that." And I explained to the organization, like, "Hey, I understand, with you guys are being mindful of him being an athlete, but he's not the typical athlete. Like, he wants to be involved. Like, he wants to be there." Like, so he wants kids to mentor, not just to pick up a phone call once in a while. Like, he wants to be able to go engage and interact with them. If he takes them out to a game or takes them to eat or be wherever he needs to be, like, he wants to be involved. And that's where the impact comes from. It's not just being a photo op, but to the point where if an athlete plays in a city or a town for a certain amount of years, he's well known in that community. Where he can walk down those streets and the people will say hi and they appreciate what he does for the community. He's uplifted the community. He's giving back resources. Like, he's changed people's lives because it trickles down. Kids notice that the older they get, they say, "Hey, man, what do you want to do when you get to the league? Like, I know I want to do this because this person came down and did it for me when I was in school, and it was dope, and I wouldn't be here without that. So
Yeah.
I know I have to pay it forward." And that's what we're looking for. We're looking
Yeah.
for
I,
an
and I
impact.
and I always say it's pretty. It's awesome to see an athlete, a professional athlete, or an entertainer for that fact, who can go into certain neighborhoods and go to the bodega and get a chopped cheese. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's like, oh man, we see this guy all the time, man. He's cool over here. I think that means a lot. And for me as a professional athlete, I never wanted to I never wanted to make it seem like I was like a try hard, but I wanted people to know, like, listen, like I'm not stunting on you. I'm one of you guys. I like going to the bodega like you. Like, listen, I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna give you a water, give you a sandwich. I'm gonna holler at y'all, man. I'm gonna see y'all in a couple weeks, because I'm on a diet. We try to promote healthy eating on this side. you know, but yeah, man. So it's awesome what you guys are doing, man. And again, man, this is why I love speaking to people like you, not only because of just who you are as a person, but just more so what you stand for and how you apply it to business, because that's important, right? So, Mike, we get into the end of the recording, and I have two or three more questions for you. So nowadays, right, you young athletes have full access to a lot of money, and I just want to get your take on the new NIL, name and image likeness deals that these young kids are getting at 15, 16 years old. How can you know, help these young people get a grasp on what's in front of them? I personally think it's a good thing that, that they're getting it back. But with all of those resources comes a ton of responsibility. And you and I, we talked earlier about being 18, just being on West Virginia's campus. So imagine we 18 and we already got 150K legally in our bank account.
Yeah, it would get out of hand. I'm excited for NIL. I haven't officially jumped in it because I actually been, I'm connected with a lot of people before NIL dropped. The rule and the law, I was, have a lot of colleagues that on the back end, backdoor stuff people don't know. There's a lot of legal stuff that goes into it,
Yeah.
conferences, meetings. I knew some people that was sitting on those meetings and talking and speaking. So they was kind of relaying some information to me. And we knew like it was going to be the wild, wild west. We said the first few
That's
years it's
exactly
going to
what it
be
is.
crazy. They don't know. We don't know what type of deals are going to happen, how creative things are going to happen, which different ways they're going to try to make deals and create deals. So it was like the first few years is going to be like they're going to just let it rock. Like let's see what's happening, what was good, what was bad. So that was the beginning. But from a financial standpoint, one, I just wanted to get this all the way. Not a financial advisor,
Yeah.
so please. But from a financial standpoint, for me, I think is amazing. Kids at any age can profit in general. Um, that's amazing. We always talk about society, and this is a whole deeper topic for something else. But we always talk about like, oh, these kids are making money at an early age, etc. And it's like, well, what is life? You tell them, they always tell people, oh, they should be focused on education. And I agree to some point because for me, it's like, why? Why should these kids just focus on education? What are you focused on education so much for? You go to school to focus on education to get a
To
degree,
make
to
money.
go get a job, to make money. So if these kids can make some money at an early age,
Yeah.
why stop them? Like for me, it's like why stop them? Like what you're trying to force your lifestyle into theirs. Like well, unfortunately, they're athletes. They're different. The majority of us, they have gifted talents, and they gotta make some money. Why not? Just because you gotta go to work 40 hours a week to kind of make that, they don't have to. So I think it's a blessing, and I'm seeing it. I'm excited. The only thing I feel like there's a lot of, like you said, responsibilities. I think there's a lot of faulty things and risky things for me is when it comes to some athletes and young athletes, their parents kind of taking a step in where, making decisions for them where it's like, well, you're going to go to school there because someone's giving
Right.
us a bad care or et cetera. I don't want to, I don't want to get into athletes
Yeah.
losing their control of themselves, giving their rights and controls to somebody else. That's what I don't want. But from a financial standpoint, I'm all open for it. But also, if you're speaking to young athletes, the same thing I just preached probably 5 minutes ago about an athlete understanding there are a business. Once you jump into this NIL space, you have to look at yourself as a business. So back to that same diagram, Mike Seabrook LLC is going to be my job is to hoop, play ball, whatever it is, but who is going to help me manage my finances? Who is going to help me manage
Back
my
to the
brand?
playbook.
Like you go into that, yeah, you got to go into that playbook now. You're basically stepping foot into the professional side of things. It's like, okay, cool. Well, I'm again to NIL. I'm a college student, and they're offering me XYZ amount of money. Cool. I need to make sure I have somebody legally be able to represent me. Legally be able to represent me. I also need an attorney. Because I want someone to, from an attorney side, lawyer side, to be able to look over these documents, be able to make sure I'm not signing my rights away, my life away. Because I've seen some nasty documents previously. Um, so just get an aspect financially, like you said, taxes. Get someone say, hey, if I do this deal, what am I supposed to do next? Like, well, you're going to be taxed this much, so make sure that is set aside. Like, we got to
Right.
run your taxes every year. Having these type of people, because I didn't know about taxes until like 20 something, until I got my job. Like, so a young kid at 15, 16, 17, 18 getting a lump sum of money, I'm sure they don't know about Uncle Sam coming in and swiping about half of it. They're
And
not
see,
going to know
for
that.
me, I was always taught, once you get to a certain level financially, just go ahead and cut 50%. Just just say half. So I was taught if you sign for two, let's say you're gonna make one.
Yeah.
Just go ahead, throw away 50%. And of course, depending on where you live and what the tax laws are, it could be, it could go down a little bit, but yeah, go up 50%. Go ahead, put it down. And you can say, even if your tax goes down to 40%, go ahead, put a little the 10% on for expenditures and things of that nature. So 50%. Now we can see what's happening. That's how I was taught. No, man, I and the reason why I wanted to ask you that is just because that's the landscape now. So it's of course sports, and then I mean so if we're speaking about sports, the game is the game. Rules change, um, evolution happens, but the business, while it's ever it's growing all the time, the business is the business. You're still gonna have to pay taxes. You're still gonna have to watch out for sharks and leeches and
Exactly.
all of that type of stuff. You're still gonna have to be able to protect your asset, and you still have to understand that you are the bag. So that athlete or that entertainer, you are the money. Like you are the asset. So when you're out here and you in these streets and you're dealing with this person and that person, we can't forget that we are the reason why they're giving us these contracts. We can't put ourselves in jeopardy. So that okay. So Mike, we're gonna move forward. What's next for Brookline Sports?
Definitely. So I'm excited. I don't think I explained it. So I have a client who plays for the Carolina Panthers in NFL. He's going on his third year as a starter. He went undrafted during COVID. That was a wild year. It was a crazy experience. Not being invited to no senior games after starting all 4 years at an SEC school. No combine invite. No pro day because of COVID. But he got picked up undrafted and just blew everyone out the water during the summer, and basically had no choice.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
yeah,
this
nice.
he it, like he it. They had to keep him. So he starts. He's going in his third year. Will be a starter this year as well. And then have a young guy that I've built a relationship over the last few years with, and I'm slowly working with now. Just got drafted to Los Angeles Chargers in the sixth round, so I'm excited for him. Another Jersey guy, so I'm excited to slowly work with him and start building some things out with him. But going forward, I do consult
Okay.
some kids for NIL behind those doors. I don't take no money. I don't want anything to do with that for right now. Just they have questions. They want me to do some stuff for them. Off of GP, I do it, and just seeing how the landscape works and see if it's doable for me to jump in. So probably within the next few months, I'm gonna see if I'm gonna jump in an NIL space or not. But for me, it's continue right now work with football. That's what I'm gravitated to is continue to grab a few more guys. This is a family.
Hmm.
My motto is only family. I'm not just hitting up 100 kids and trying to get 100 deals. Nah, for me, it's you got to meet the mold. and I think I explained it before, is guys that are seeing more from themselves, understanding that it takes more to develop a brand. They have to do a lot more, get involved, start doing, being diverse. Guys that are open to that and want to do that, those are guys we're looking for. So I'm excited about that. I definitely want to add on, two more guys to the team. And the next step, probably next year, actually, probably the end of this year, I'll probably start next year. I'm gonna jump into
Yeah, because
WNBA, so
hey,
women's
these ladies
basketball.
need to get
Um,
those
uh,
bags. These ladies could really go. Come on. Okay, that's
that
nice. You could hopping in.
it, one, they're hoopers, man. I love women's basketball. I've been working with them, back in West Virginia. I've always watched women's basketball, NCAA, WNBA. I love them. They're all down to earth, dope, very relatable. They have no
Yeah,
problem engaging and communicating with you. And when it comes to a marketing standpoint, they're huge, dope content creators. They're very, creative. They think outside the box. They're very engaging. So for me, like they're like
yeah,
the perfect athlete to work with. And it's sad to see that a lot of these brands are not, working with these girls, these women. And it's always mind boggling to me that a lot of their reps are not out there trying to get deals. Well, they may be, but, there should be some more execution. And for me, it's so many cosmetic brands and, women hygienic brands and just fashion brands, like just the bare basic starts they could be working with. So for me, that's probably my next step is to somehow, some way get in women's basketball, and then after that, get into men's basketball. Because I'm based in Jersey. Jersey has a lot of athletes, a lot of top programs when it comes to high school ball. And from there, a lot of these guys from Jersey get sent to different schools around the country, and it's all Power Five, top school programs. So definitely want to build those relationships early and try to get on them as well. So that's kind of the step and step, plan
hey,
from
you
there.
you in the game, man. You in the game. Listen, I'm excited to see what's coming next for you, man. I really am, and I have one more question for you, but just just to
Go
just to
ahead.
hear you put it out there, man. So we talked about this. So a big part of the show is about manifestation, right? Because once we say it and believe it, it's time to put it into action. You told me about what's next for Brookline Sports. Tell me what's the perfect scenario for Mike Seabrook. Like I'm Mike Seabrook. I'm speaking professionally, personally, if you care to share, or both. What's the perfect scenario for you where you would not feel content, but you would say, I did it?
Copy. So yeah, for me right now, um, in that scenario, I definitely think getting a possibly a first or second round athlete in any sport, um, and someone there's actually a kid I'm communicating with in college. He gets it. He understands it, and if he can develop into a first round person or someone that's there, like I would love to. But for me, being content, I have to see myself with a few, maybe five athletes on my roster. They're investing in different opportunities off the field. They develop community outreach programs and initiatives, and they're branding and marketing. We're doing 5-figure deals, 6-figure deals. We're just doing deals left and right. And for me, from a professional side, that's where I would take that deep breath to say, yeah, I made it. Like, this is it. Like, we're doing so much dope stuff that the phone is ringing. Like, athletes are hitting me up to want to get on board, and I'm turning them down. Like, that's where I know. Like, everyone clutch.
Okay,
I'm pretty
yeah,
sure everyone
yeah,
picks
of
up the phone
course,
want to go to
yeah.
clutch. Like, yo, we want to go to clutch. Like, well, clutch ain't taking everybody, but just seeing the way they move, and they move as a unit. They take over hotels, they take over weekends. Like for me, family is huge to me. So I want everybody I work with is family. So I want to be able to develop a family atmosphere where we go,
Oh yeah, we
Super
showing
Bowl. We're
up.
going as a
Hmm.
team. Like we're going as Brookline family coming to Super
Oh yeah,
Bowl. We getting a suite. We chilling. Like they trying to get in
talking
our
about
suites.
content creation.
Everyone's trying to
We in
come
the
chill with
suite,
us.
baby. What's up?
We're doing Listen, we running with our videographers on a regular. We doing business summit camps in the summer. On their off season. So we have business professionals come in, and we're teaching these guys how to properly do things in the business world, investing or just just a weekend of, yoga and, working out and doing content stuff for different, like, just, I, in my mind, like, a perfect scenario is just having a core group of guys that understands the process to say, hey, I believe in you, Mike. Like, we understand how it goes. Like, we're going to rock with you. And they're hitting everything from content creation, community initiatives. Like, we're doing it all. And I could really take a deep breath and be like, this is it. Like, everything is hitting on the nail. We're getting deals out the water. Community initiative. They're winning awards for community, player of the week. They're getting invested in real estate and startup tech companies. Like, that's when I'm just like, everything I see in my head is really playing out. Like that for me, like, that's it. Like, that's not the end of ones, but that's when I know, like, yo, like, I'm here. Like, this is it. Like, this is where I saw Brookline Sports at. We're doing yearly, company retreats. Like, we all go country, chill out, laugh, joke. We do business summits. We
Yeah.
go, Mother's Day. We go buy out a restaurant and community initiative. Every mother part of in this program we do a brunch for, and just seeing things we can just impact the community for, and just see it just to fruition and execute. And just getting those athletes to that level. That's when I'm like taking a deep breath and I'm content. Like, that's when I'm like, yeah, we're there. Like, we're there. So it's gonna take some
Hey, nah,
time,
man.
but
Listen, you
we
said
gonna
it.
get there.
It's done. That's just how we operate in this space, man. Once we say it, it's done. Now I didn't say the process was done. We have to, commit to the process. But now, once we say it, once we visualize it, it's time to put it into action, man. That's why I love to hear that, man. Listen, Mike, man, thank you
Nah, I
for your
appreciate
time today, man. So, usually, Mike, I wrap up, man, and so we're wrapping up, and I just want to say, man, thank you for your time today, man. Like, it was good just building. Hopefully, you had a good time, kind of digging back and going over some of these thought processes that took place, as you were coming up in the game, man. But listen, man, I'm thankful that you shared your story, and I'm happy for you, man, and I can't wait to see what's next for you as a person, but also for your business, man, because the business model that you have set is definitely one that's going to win. And yeah, man, I'm just happy for this connection, man. This was dope.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you giving me the time. Like I said, I think, now I'm getting more comfortable just trying to, like you said, speaking into existence and just speaking about my process and where I want to see it, and just telling the stories more about how I got to where I am. I think that also helps me, drive me more to
Yeah, no
continue.
doubt. Before we get
So I
out of here,
appreciate the
man, share your
opportunity.
socials and then we'll wrap up.
For sure. So all my socials from, I would say, Instagram and Twitter is at Mike Seabrook Jr. So MikeSeabrook Jr. And then at Brookline Sports on Twitter and Instagram. So you can follow both. If you need any information, you can follow the website www.brooklinesport.com,
Hey,
and
you heard
everything will
it
be there as
here
well.
from Mike Seabrook. Go ahead and follow him. Make sure that you guys keep your eye on Brookline Sports because they're taking off. And ladies and gentlemen, you know how we do when we wrap up. I have to drop that jewel. It costs nothing to be good to someone. Be good to someone today. You guys enjoy your Mother's Day. Call your mama love. Tell her you love her. I'm sending mine up to heaven. Love you, mama. Enjoy your day. And we out of here. Thank you. We'll talk to you guys on the next one.